This team of game developers is making the same game for the 4th time right now. Why the hell would you do that? How do the economics behind that look like? And should you do it as well?
I know it's a bummer your restaurant exploded, but here's an idea. You could turn our truck into a food truck.
Okay, let me just start with this question. Why are you making the same game for the 4th time now?
Well, it would be more of a risk if this is the 4th game and it was exactly the same as the others. Mm-hmm. But we've kind of prided ourselves with every game kind of reinventing itself. The first game being that cooking game that's very chill, very calming. And then the sequel, Cook Serve Delicious 2, just going bananas and it being extremely complex. And with the third game, mostly the same gameplay dynamics wrapped in a new form of progression. Mm-hmm. And for the first time, we had voice acting and a story. Just this ridiculous setting of food trucks shooting at each other. And now with this game, Cook Serve Forever, we just wanted to create something completely new. Yes, it is a lot about cooking, and the story elements are far beyond anything we've ever done.
Plus, I just really like eating.
Was it like each game was more successful than the one before? So you were like, it makes sense to continue the chain, or how
Sure.
did that work out?
It's interesting because the line of success, it's very different how you look at it. So you lose people with every sequel that you do. Mm-hmm. And that's what we found. We're selling less copies with every sequel, but we're making more money. And the way that happens is through, of course, making the price a little bit more with each one. But also new deals that we have that while we're not having as big a sell-through, we're having way more people playing the game through getting it for free on a subscription service, or things like Amazon Luna, or things like Humble Choice, or right now we're on the Epic free game giveaway.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it's like, while we don't have those sold-through numbers, we do get compensated at the start. It's fully feasible, and in fact risky if you're not, but fully feasible to be profitable before you even sell one copy.
Okay, crazy, just by making deals with various platforms.
Yeah, exactly. And deals that you wouldn't even expect, one of which I hope to announce next year.
But do you have the feeling, all in all, that more players are gonna play Cook Serve Delicious 3 than, let's for example say 1, as a result of all of these deals? Or is it like you said before, the player base is shrinking but the money is increasing, or is the player base all in all increasing as well? Like,
it's interesting because we released Cook Serve Delicious 1 10 years ago. This October it will be about 10 years. The market was so different back then. There was not that much competition like there is now. And so I don't even think it's necessarily our fan base is shrinking or anything. It's just the competition is so heavy now that we're no longer like the only hardcore cooking sim you can find. There's Overcooked. There's this new game called Played Up that just came out. There's so many more things on our side that's competition. Cooking Simulator, I think it's called. Just a lot of stuff. It's interesting because I think you see a lot more people willing to take a chance on games that they normally wouldn't play, like ours, if it's provided on a subscription-based platform or something. And like back 10 years ago, literally the only way you would play Cook Serve Delicious 1 is by buying it, if you're interested in it. And that's what's interesting, is like this just 10 years ago, how different the market is compared to now. Like it's dramatically different.
Yeah, that's obviously true. Yeah, that's something to think about as well.
Yeah,
exactly. Your camera is kind of
yeah. My cat's kind of like my cat's lying on the monitor.
How is that from a mental perspective? Is it like you're all really interested in cooking, so it doesn't bother you to make 4 games about cooking? Is it just like a personal interest?
That's a great question. I hate cooking. I really do. It is not fun. I would never cook for myself. I just don't like it. I mean, obviously, like I do, but it's just I hate cooking. And I think that's why I can make these games, because I'm not attached to it. And I'm not thinking, well, that's not how you really cook a hamburger. But it's more me thinking, what's going to work here? What's fun? I think, honestly, I hate cooking, but I love cooking reality shows. I love cooking games. We're inspired by the Japanese game Oro no Ryori, which came out on the PlayStation 1 back in the 90s. I played a demo of that, and I was hooked. And it was a Japanese import game. The first game really, really took a lot of inspiration from that game. Every game I have to add something new or else I'll go nuts. So that's why every game's so new, because by the time the third game came around, it made sense business-wise to make it, because I thought there's so much content here that nobody saw in the second game. I could easily make a third game. But also I don't want to do this. And I hate that I'm making a third game. And so what I'm going to do is make it so bananas that I'm going to have a lot of fun making it. And if it crashes and burns, then that's great. I never have to make another cooking game. And it ended up being the highest reviewed game we've ever made. So
Nice. Okay.
I think that's just kind of how it works. It's just like, it's not like I made it out of spite, but I really was like, I can't make a third game that's just you're in a skyscraper again. Like I have to do something new. I have to.
Yeah, so the skyscraper blowing up at the beginning of the game is almost a metaphor for that.
It actually, honestly, it really is.
Yeah.
And Cook Serve Forever is a completely new game. Like, it has nothing to do with the other three. Like, it's set in the same universe, but it's set in an undisclosed time in the future. And that's a lot of fun.
So it's more a business decision than like a decision about passion and personal interests. Is that correct?
I think it's both, honestly. Like, I have to have a passion for it. And there have been games that I've made where I didn't really, and I ended up canceling.
Do you feel like making these sequels becomes more and more challenging, or does it become easier?
It does become easier as far as like foods, because you're really not reinventing foods. It's just like, I know what a burger is now. I've done this for like 4 games. I do it in my sleep. But it's also just kind of like, it just gets challenging from a mental perspective. And I really do feel like Cook Serve Forever is the final cooking game we'll ever make. That's not to say we're going to release it and just kind of leave it alone. Like, we're going to be exploring new avenues, maybe DLC. I have no idea. Because, I really do feel like after this game, I just legitimately wouldn't know what to do. And we already have another game after this that we want to make that has nothing to do with cooking or anything.
That's nice.
So that's going to be fun. Yeah.
Because I was thinking the same thing, that it seems like everything's kind of getting better from game to game. Like you're improving the graphics, you're improving the sound, you're improving the fantasy, you're improving like how you interact with the game. So everything seems to get better and better. And perhaps you're reaching the point now where you're not sure what to improve anymore, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it really is just kind of like there's nothing left to do. Like, I just don't know what else to do.
Do you think there are any cross-promotion effects between like all of these 3 games? Do you feel like maybe part 1 is selling more because of the marketing you're doing for part 3, or the other way around, maybe the old game is bringing players to the new game?
We've definitely seen that. Yeah. Cook Serve Delicious 1 is so essentially old now that we can't really do anything with it. It's gotten into enough people's hands where in a weird way, you can't do anything interesting with it. And that'll make sense when I talk about Cook Serve Delicious 2, which is only about 4 or 5 years old. That game we can kind of play fast and loose with, because we rely on Cook Serve Delicious 3 to make money. Because of that, I can kind of just see what happens with Cook Serve Delicious 2 when we do something like put it in the bundle for the itch.io bundle for racial justice, I believe, in 2020. The only thing I was thinking of was just like, we want to show our support. But what I didn't know at the time was just how massive that bundle was going to be. And when news sites were covering it, we were among the top games of that bundle to be like, there's this big bundle for racial justice, and it's Cook Serve Delicious 2 and Celeste and all these games, and it's just like, wow, we're being paired with these games in a way that I never expected. And, you know, they sold massive amounts of that bundle, but obviously we didn't see any money off of that. But what we did see was sales for Cooks Are Delicious 3 going up, because just people were just realizing, oh, had no idea there was a second game, and now there's a third game. And at the time, we were about to launch Cooks Are Delicious 3 version 1.0 in October, and I believe the bundle came out that summer, if I'm not mistaken. So that was really interesting to see the effects of that. And another thing we did was discount Cooks Are Delicious 2 to 90% off on the Switch. Okay. Again, that's like $1, I think, at that point, $1 something. And unfortunately, you can't do that anymore. Nintendo has new guidelines. But at the time when we did that, it was really fascinating to see the residual effects of that and just how much money you can make off of a 90% off sale, which, as it turns out, is a lot. So I'm just constantly shocked at like the things we kind of find ourselves in.
Interesting. So basically the concept of using part 2 as a marketing vehicle for 3 seemed to work out quite well. So because you rely on 3 for making money, you don't have as much of a problem with just giving 2 away for basically free or almost nothing.
Yeah. And kind of the same thing with the Epic Game Store giveaway right now. It's that with 3, we put a patch before the giveaway, and the splash screen is, hey, come wishlist Cookserve forever. And so we're kind of seeing how that's going to go. I don't have the numbers on the wish list from Epic on that, but like that's the kind of thing where, you know, we do get fairly compensated for that giveaway, but we also want to see if we can tie that into the exposure for our future games.
In terms of code base, are all 4 games made in GameMaker?
They are, yeah. Oh. We plan on using GameMaker for the foreseeable future. We love GameMaker. It's just so fast to develop with. I don't have experience with anything else, but it's great. We love it.
Okay, that's awesome. That explains why GameMaker suggested I talk to you. You seem to be a real GameMaker fan.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So were you able to reuse some of the code base for the games? Did that speed up your workflow, or did you rewrite everything from scratch every time you made a new version?
From Cooks Are Delicious 1 to 2, we rewrote everything. It was just me at the time. And then from 2 to 3, we kept probably like 80% of the code. Like it was all reused. And now from 3 to 4, we're rewriting everything again. Or from 3 to forever, I should say. Yeah. It just makes sense. Because by the third game, it was so messy that there's nothing usable at all. So it's been refreshing to have someone, Daryl Davis is our technical director, and he's coding the entire game. And so he's able to just build it however he wants. And I have to deal with my terrible, terrible code. When I made him technical director, it was on the condition that I fire myself as the coder. And so it's worked out great so far.
Sometimes you have to let go of tasks.
yeah, you do.
So what are your learnings then from a gameplay perspective from the previous parts? Or what are the aspects you're trying to change for Cookserve Forever? Is it like you're trying to make it more accessible for the most part, or?
Yeah, we're trying to make it more accessible. We're trying to make it, because it is fun watching Cookserve Delicious 3 players like Bear Taffy, like people that are big time experts, fly through the game.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch. But that's like 1% of players that can get there. And I would love to make that 1% into maybe 25%. That would be nice. That's a challenge, because like you don't want to like take that away from the higher tier players to think, oh gosh, this is boring now. This is so easy. So it is very hard to make sure our fans are taken care of, but also trying to welcome in new players that have been turned off by the previous games.
I see. I hope you succeed in that endeavor.
Thank you.
All Cook Serve Delicious games were made using GameMaker, and you too can start making games right now. There's a link in the description. Download GameMaker for free, try it out. It's super easy to get started. Thanks a lot to David from Vertigo Games for the interview. Check out their games, they're absolutely awesome. I even recorded a couple more interviews with David. Once they're out, they should be linked right here on screen. Keep watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Things just ain't the same anymore, and we're still